If we really want to know who we really are, if we really want to discover ourselves, then we must turn to the one who made us for the answers. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 to 27 tells us that we are made in the image of God, and this immediately gives us intrinsic worth and value. Psalm 8 verse 5 tells us that God made humanity with glory and honor. We are the crown of God's creation, and as image of God, we are, first of all, relational beings, which means we're made to know God, know one another, and know ourselves. We're moral beings. We're made to reflect God's gracious and holy character through our thoughts, words, and deeds. And we're stewards, made to rule over creation with love and justice. When man broke God's law, the moral image of God was shattered in us. We still have worth and value because we're made in His image, and we still have God's moral law written in our hearts. However, our sin separates us from a relationship with God. We have rejected Him in our lives. We are broken, and this brokenness manifests itself in our selfishness, envy, greed, lust, and hatred. We weren't created this way. We became this way through sin, and now each of us are born with this brokenness. Christ, as God in the flesh, is the perfect human. He is the most human of us there ever was because He reflected God's image perfectly in every way. When we sin or we make mistakes, we often say something along the lines of, we're human, we all make mistakes. However, being human is not to make mistakes and sin. That is to be a broken human. To be fully human is to live as the image of God. Christ, as the perfect and fullest human, surrendered His life for us, the broken ones. He died our death. He took our deserved punishment, and He rose again and offers restored humanity to all who will come to Him by faith. He puts the shattered image back together again. Here's the great part. Not only does He restore us back to what we were before sin, He actually makes us better. There's an art form in Japan called kintsugi, and you should look it up. Essentially, it takes a vase or a bowl or a plate that's been broken, and it puts it back together again, using gold as the adhesive. This means that not only is the item restored, but it's actually worth more than it ever was even before it was broken. Those who have come to Christ for restoration have Christ living in them. They are made part of the new creation in Christ, according to 2 Corinthians 5:17. Christians talk about being godly and Christ-like, and this simply means to live as restored and transformed humans. When we reject God, we reject the Bible definition of what it means to be human, and this leads us to a dangerous and scary place, alone in the universe, trying to understand and define who and what we are. If we can't place our identity in what our Creator says about us, then we're going to have to go elsewhere to try and find answers for these deep questions. The problem is, there is nowhere else. There are no other answers. Even if you find an answer, you wouldn't have any standard by which to judge if it's true or not. And this identity amnesia leads to us humans desperately seeking meaning and identity everywhere else. Some of us think that identity lies at the top of the career ladder. Some of us think it lies on the top of a heap of riches and possessions. Some of us try to find it in human relationships. Some of us think that by adding body parts or removing body parts, we will finally discover ourselves. Some get attached to a political or a social cause. Some seek the path of pleasure, but it all comes up empty. If there is no Creator, we are just evolved bags of meat and bone with no value or worth in the universe. This means, like we said in the last video, that no life actually matters. We're just playing pretend when we say or shout that it does.